Tuesday, June 17th. All right, today is going to be how to deal with the psychological aspects of getting lean, cutting, shrinking, basically. All right, so I'm going to start off saying that this is a very hard part of getting lean. The psychological, the psyche of seeing you get smaller, your numbers are going down, your strength is not what it was when you were heavier. All right, you're shrinking, your arms get smaller, you're going to actually start getting small, and it can really affect you. So in this video, I'm going to give you some philosophies and experience on how to minimize the bad effects of doing this and how to deal with it. All right, so I'm going to start off by saying, first of all, this is nothing new to me. I've done this 4 to 5 times, all right? So just a backstory, and I'm going to tell you, back in the day when I was training in martial arts, Dave Mercer, my sensei, a senior sensei, was preparing for a full contact fight. You know, here locally it was a big deal. It wasn't national, but it was here in my town, and he picked me to spar as a sparring partner, and I trained with him clear up till the fight. And he did some really pretty interesting things. He got so shredded, all right, by the end of it. And then after he got to the point of being so shredded, I mean, we were doing bag work, sparring constantly. And I also got shredded because I followed his diet protocol. And he told me this. I asked him, Dave, how are you getting so freaking lean? He said he would write down everything he ate, and then he would cut the portions in half. See, back then, that was the mid-70s, late 70s. Back then, we didn't have the things we have now, like calorie counter apps, and we're really blessed with the amount of things that we have at our disposal. So I followed the same thing, and I got just as shredded as he did, okay? I could take a quarter, like I said, and put it in my 6-pack, all right? Almost, I think I had an 8-pack. I don't remember. But what I'm saying is I got pretty damn lean, all right? And because of the training, but I got small. You know, if you were to see us back then, we look like these bodybuilders, these natural, I mean 100% natural guys now. If you look at them, they're not that impressive, you know, because they're lean, they look haggard, and it's a look that I'm not really particularly fond of because, you know, they don't have that full look. And obviously, because they're not on drugs, okay? That full look is only going to be achievable when you're on anabolics or, you know, TRT and all that kind of stuff. So that look that you're thinking that you can get by cutting it's not going to happen, all right? Unless you're blasting gear, all right? So get that out of your head. So what I did is, in my training, I went back to what happened with that preparation for that full contact bout and how lean I got. But I said to myself, man, I'm really small. I weighed 151. Come on, 150? And that's not carrying a lot of muscle. I was fast, you know, I was fast and quick, and I was in incredible condition, all right? I was like a greyhound, but I don't know, that looked to me just, I like to be a little bit stronger and bigger. So here's what I did following the other cuts, okay, going into it. I started readjusting how I did things. I had my protein up higher, okay, a lot of protein. I staggered, it was called zigzagging back in the day. I would use carbohydrates strategically. 2 or 3 days, I would keep the carbs up, and then maybe 3 or 4, 5 days, I would drop the carbs down to about 50 grams a day. So I zigzag, because as I went along, I figured your body wants to stay in homeostasis. It doesn't like to go out of its perimeter, so to speak. So when you start dieting and cutting back and then doing shitload of cardio, you're going to get to a point where you're just going to stall out, all right? And if you keep going past that stall and try to fight that stall, you're going to start looking like that frail, like these guys on the stage. You're going to look smaller, much smaller, and haggard and just weak. And that's why all these guys that are natural, they say to prepare for a natural contest, they all say, I've heard them where I go to the gym, they say they feel absolutely horrid. They feel horrible. They're weak, they're dehydrated, they don't function well, and then afterwards they eat shitloads of pizzas, they go nuts, and they start feeling better. So you don't want to do that. So I said to myself, I'm not going to do that. I got to figure out a way in order to get lean and try to keep as much muscle mass as humanly possible. So don't do a shitload of cardio when you're cutting. It'll work for the first 3 to 4 weeks. And if you are going to do cardio, do it for 2 or 3 weeks. Get that initial and then stop and then go and train hard and then reintroduce it 2 or 3 weeks later, because you're throwing the body off guard. What you're trying to do is you're not trying to let the body readjust itself, so to speak, okay? You want to keep the body guessing. And when your body's always trying to readjust itself, it doesn't know what the hell's going on. So that's when you'll start kicking in body fat, losing body fat, all right? So there's some strategic things that we can do to keep as much muscle as possible. Now, here's the hard truth that you need to know, all right? You're not going to ever gain muscle and lose fat at the same time, especially if you've been training for a period of time, okay? That's bullshit. Anyone that tells you that is pulling your leg. They're mutually exclusive, okay? Losing fat and gaining muscle, or losing fat and gaining muscle, they're two different things, all right? One, you either have to do one or you have to do the other. You can't do both. So you got to focus and do what your goal is, okay? And there's one aspect of getting super lean that is very good, and I'll get into that here in a little bit. Something that you're never going to hear from anyone else, all right? And I mean that because it's not, and you're going to probably think, oh, that's voodoo bullshit. Hear me out. All right, so remember, they're mutually exclusive. One does one thing and one does another thing. So end it on that. The only way you're going to get around that is if you start blasting gear. And even people that are on like TRT or doing gear, it'll work for a while. The only way that they may continue to make it work is they have to up the dosages. And when you start upping these dosages, you're going to run into a lot of other problems, okay? And I know this not because I've never done gear, but I know it from people that I've talked to. I've been around. I'm an old man. I've talked to people. I train people, all right? Not in lifting, but I've trained people in karate and all kinds of stuff. So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to that, all right? So here's what I'm going to tell you. You have to try to minimize the damage because there's going to be muscle loss. That was the point I was trying to get to. You're going to lose muscle no matter what. Your arms are going to get smaller. Your lifts are going to go down. And if you can't handle that, some people can't. And they will revert and say, screw this. I don't like the way I look. The reason for that is, I'll tell you why that happens. Their ego, all right? Their ego is very, very dominant. Their existence in life depends on how they are perceived by other people. You follow? And if you have that, you're not in a Zen state, so to speak, okay? You're not thinking like, you're thinking of yourself, all right? Because your ego does not allow you to go and look differently. In other words, like to yourself, you go, I look horrible. All right, let's say horrible is the word. Your ego will say to itself, God, I look horrible, and it won't be able to deal with that. All right. So it's ego. All right. You have to get past that and understand that you're going to look a certain way for a period of time. And for a period of time, all right? And then you have to say to yourself that I can deal with that. I can deal with that, and I'm going to push through. Because at the end of it, you can come out looking just as good and even better than before, all right? But that should still not be your end goal, because that, again, is ego. You want to just do this because you want to get rid of body fat, all right? All right, so that's the number one thing is ego, how you feel you're being perceived by other people. So get around that. Fuck them. They don't care. Do you think that a fish in an aquarium, you ever see fish swim around? Do you think one fish looks at another fish and says, I don't like the colors on that guy over there? Do you think they really do that to each other? They could give a rat's ass. So get that out of your head. All right. So once you get this dialed in, all right, like I said, focus on lifting heavy, all right? And the most important thing is, if you're going to do cardio, for crying out loud, do it in periods, 1 or 2 weeks, and then stop and then repeat it a month later, something like that. I don't do cardio. I just walk for leisure. I get out of the house, get some air, get some sunshine. I use diet as the main, diet and lifting are the main focus of getting shredded, all right? Diet and lifting. So on lifting part, you want to cut down on your volume a little bit. Instead of doing like me right now, I was doing 5 to 6 sets. What I'm doing now, anywhere from 3 to 4, and maybe 5 if I feel like it. But if I don't feel it there, I'll cut it off. Keep the volume, I can't even say the word, keep the volume low. Anywhere from 3 to 5 sets, no more. And the frequency, you don't need to mess with that too much, because if you're doing the routine or you're working light work 3 days a week, Saturday, Sunday off, that should be fine. If you need to cut back to 2 days a week, that's fine also. But make sure to hit the big major muscle groups, the barbell lifts, okay, the big 4, the bench, the squat, deadlift, overhead press. That's the big 4, the big core, the big stretchers. Then put in your isolations, your arms, triceps, things like that. So if you keep it and lift heavy, we're not talking doing high reps. I know there's another bullshit fallacy, is that when you're cutting, you need to do lots of high reps, okay, to burn calories. No, that's going to shrink you even more. That's what these natural bodybuilders do. That they got it reversed. You got to lift heavy, low sets and heavy, to try to preserve as much muscle as you can. All right. So get your rest. The main things is obvious: rest. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't party. Try to keep your head focused on what you're doing. All right. So now I'm going to get into the out there world, so to speak, on body fat loss. All right. As we lose body fat, all right, you're going to start feeling kind of shitty. You're not going to have energy. You're not going to sleep as well. And they all attribute it to this one thing. Well, I'm not getting the calories. I feel like crap. My body, that's true to a point. But this is my belief now, just my observation and my philosophy, my belief, okay? So this is not written in any studies. This is just coming from me, all right? It is my belief, as we are burning body fat, your body is metabolizing fat stores. And in these fat stores, you're holding on to chemicals, the foods that we eat, the water that we drink, all right? And in these things, your body will store poisons in your fat cells. It's a protective mechanism, so it protects you. It puts it in your fat stores to keep it away and keep everything else functioning properly. So as you get leaner, your fat becomes metabolized and gets used up, and these molecules, you've got all these molecules. You got your lead, mercury, pesticides, glyphosate that they use. We are all ingesting chlorine. All this crap is in you, all right? You take anybody, like my doctor, he does punctures where they take some fat and they can see we are walking around filled with chemicals. So as we start metabolizing this fat stores, you're going to start feeling the effects of the body. It was bad when it went in, and now when it's coming out, these things will start affecting your mind, your thinking, because they're toxins, mercury, heavy metals, all types, arsenic from the rice, from all the foods that you eat, cadmium, everything. We're walking toxic dumps, okay? And no one's going to tell you that. That, I believe, is part of the reason that we feel like shit. You're getting rid of a lot of shit. And at that time, as we're cutting, it would be very beneficial to start eating things that are very, very low in toxicity, all right? Get away from chlorine, drink water, get filters on your water. Start eating foods that are really clean, organic, to make sure that they got the lowest levels of toxins in these foods. And as you eat them and you're shredding, getting rid of the toxins, the vitamin that you take, the high quality vitamin, the whey protein concentrate is an incredible substance to bind with heavy metals and to get them out of the body. Check it out. This is no bullshit. Believe me, I know for a fact all this crap. And as you get leaner, your mind will start being affected, because on a very, very way up there, okay, level, it'll start getting affected. Weird dreams, not being able to sleep, anxiety that appears out of nowhere for no reason, fears, happiness, crying, you name it, you're going to get it. You're going to go through these semantics, and that's just the way it is. You are cleaning out years of garbage. That's why I believe that getting lean, very lean, I'm talking about under 8%, 2 or 3 times within a 2 or 3, 4 year period is going to be good just to get rid of the gunk out of your body. And when you come back, and if you keep everything perfectly in order as your diet and keep your toxins low, you're going to grow better, you're going to look younger, and you're going to feel better because you are discarding. And that's my philosophy and belief, all right? Think about this. Back 1,000 years ago, we got our food however we could get it, and we ate. But there was many of times where we went for long periods without eating, and that was the way the body got rid of all these cells, these toxic cells, senescent cells, you name it. That body was the time of washing everything out of you. And that's when it was like a reboot, a mini reboot. You would go through a starvation period, and then boom, you got some animal or whatever you were eating at the time, and then boom, you regenerate. It's called regeneration. That's why I also believe periodically is doing a 2 to 3, even 5-day fast, which is phenomenal. But you shouldn't do that all the time. That should be done maybe once once or twice a year, and that's it. We don't want to starve the body and put it into stress. And you never want to go into a fast if you're not, it's just like lifting. You don't want to go into a fast if you're not accustomed to it, because you'll start dumping too fast and get sick and have a lot of detoxification symptoms. So start out slow. And just by you getting leaner, you're already going to be in a detox. That's going to be actually a better way to go than just all out water fast. All right. And that's, again, if you're going to fast and you're not used to fasting, you can do a juice fast. All right. And that would be good. But I preferably like pure water fast with good, high quality water. All right. Water that's pure. All right. Not out of the tap. Good quality water fast is superior, in my belief, to all other fasts. All right. So now that you understand that you've got my thinking on this, is that you can get super lean, you can look good and feel good and regenerate. You want to regenerate the body. You know, all this talk about doing all these movements, you got all these longevity people out there talking all this BS, and they're trying to give you a magic, fountain of youth somewhere by doing motor units. You name it, it's out there. Motor units, herbology, that you're going to take these herbs and live to 200 years, some faux tai, the Chinese faux tai or ginseng. That's all bullshit. All right, just get rid of that. You're going to be aging really well if you keep your toxins low, get rid of the toxins. All right. Sauna is a great way. Also, if you have access to a sauna, get in and sweat out. Get some whey concentrate. I highly believe in no flavors, just plain, no vanilla, nothing in it, just plain 100% grass-fed whey concentrate is unbelievable. All right. So once you get all those things, then boom, you're dialed in. And get past, and this is, I'm going to close because these things get long. Get past the fact that you're not going to look the greatest for a while, but just keep pushing through. As long as you keep lifting heavy. Now, what I mean by heavy, you're not going to lift as heavy as when you were heavier, but you're try to keep the weight going as much as you can. All right. In other words, I was benching 205 on an incline for maybe 3 or 4 reps when I was 175. The other day I did a chest workout, all right, and I was bummed out. Here I am, 165 on an incline, and I could barely get 6-7 reps at 165. It's not there because I'm lighter, all right. So and I'm going, God, and you know what I did? I said, screw it. I'm just going to do on the first set, all right, 6 reps. On the second set, I said, if I can get 5. And I went down in the pyramid, okay? But I kept it there. So keep it, I got down where I was only doing 3 reps, 165, and just did 2 or 3 more sets, and that's it. Just keep it heavy to make the body understand that you need that muscle, all right? All right. Claudio Martini at Resistance Training. That's all I got for the day. I hope this helps you in some way, because I'll tell you what, I think people out there are just going about it the way that it's going to be detrimental to them. And I really mean, when you're starting to slam a shitload of cardio and lift and diet, it's going to be a disastrous thing. So anyway, ciao, subscribe to this channel, and we'll talk to you soon. Let's get this button here. Thank you for watching. Ciao.